In the farthest reaches of the galaxy, beyond the borders of known space, there existed a whispered legend among the stars, the legacy of humanity. To most species, it was nothing more than a mighty tale told by ancient civilizations that had once encountered the mysterious and long-lost human race. For centuries, humans had vanished without a trace, leaving behind only fragments of their once thriving empire scattered across the cosmos. The humans had become little more than a footnote in the history of the galaxy, an extinct species from a forgotten era. But not everyone believed the humans were gone for good. Dravenrol, an enigmatic and grizzled relic hunter, had dedicated his life to proving otherwise. As a rogue wanderer with a ship as battered as his reputation, Draven had spent decades chasing rumors, braving ancient ruins, and surviving death traps in search of humanity's forgotten legacy. Some called him a fool, while others called him reckless, but one thing was certain: Draven never backed down from a challenge. His latest lead brought him to the edge of the uncharted sector, known as the Void Expanse, a lawless region of space where few dare to venture. Here, in the depths of a dying star system, lay the ruins of an ancient human outpost, known only as Valerius, a place thought to hold one of the greatest artifacts ever created by mankind, the Key of Eternity. Legend spoke of the key's power, a device rumored to unlock not just the secrets of the past but also the future itself. Many had searched for it, but none had returned. Draven, however, wasn't just any treasure hunter, was the best. Armed with his sweat, his blaster, and a lifetime of knowledge, he set a course for Valerius, determined to uncover the truth of humanity's lost legacy. As his ship, the Void Serpent, approached the planet, the cold black of space stretched endlessly before him. Valerius loomed like a dead world, a silent graveyard of ancient technology half buried in sand and time. The atmosphere was thick with dust, and as Draven landed on the surface, his boots sank into the crumbling ruins of what had once been a bustling human colony. Now, only ghostly remnants remained: abandoned structures, rusted machinery, and faded insignias of a forgotten empire. Draven adjusted his breathing mask and surveyed the landscape, his cybernetic eye whirred as he scanned the environment, detecting faint energy signatures beneath the rubble. There was something alive down there, something ancient. "Looks like I'm not the first one here," Draven muttered to himself. He had expected this. Other scavengers, mercenaries, and treasure hunters were always drawn to human artifacts like moths to a flame, but none had the expertise that Draven had. He knew the traps, the dangers, and the puzzles left behind by humanity's most brilliant minds. With cautious steps, Draven made his way through the decaying ruins, navigating the twisted corridors and crumbling walls of the once great outpost. His hand hovered near the hilt of his blaster, ready for anything. His mind raced, recalling the stories of how humanity had fought wars among the stars, invented incredible technology, and pushed the limits of their intellect for vanishing without explanation. Suddenly, a faint hum echoed through the hallways. Draven frowned. It was the unmistakable sound of machinery, old, but still functional. Could it be? He whispered, his heart pounding with excitement. He followed the sound deeper into the facility, descending a set of stairs into what appeared to be an underground chamber. The walls were lined with faded human symbols, and at the center of the room was a pedestal, surrounded by holographic screens displaying ancient text. On the pedestal, glowing faintly in the dim light, was a small, intricate device: Key of Eternity. Draven's breath caught in his throat. He had found it. But before he could move, a figure stepped from the shadows, clothed in black armor and wielding a plasma blade. "I didn't think anyone else had the goal to come this far," the stranger said, their voice distorted by a helmet. "You must be Draven Ralph, infamous relic hunter." Draven's eyes narrowed. "And you must be the competition?" The figure chuckled darkly. "You're too late, Ro. The key is mine." Draven's hand shot to his blaster, and in an instant, the chamber erupted into chaos. Plasma bolts ricocheted off the walls as Draven dove behind cover, firing back at the armored figure. The two exchanged shots in a deadly dance, their movements precise and calculated, but Draven wasn't just any hunter, was a survivor. With a quick roll, he managed to disarm his opponent, knocking the plasma blade from their hand. The armored figure stumbled, giving Draven just enough time to grab the key from the pedestal. I don't think so, Draven growled, holding the artifact tightly. The stranger stood, breathing heavily, their helmet cracked and visor sparking. You have no idea what you're dealing with. The key is more than just a relic. It's a weapon that can bring humanity back from extinction. Do you really think you can't control it? Draven paused, his eyes narrowing. He had heard rumors about the key's true power, but he had never believed them. Now, with the weight of the device in his hands, he wasn't so sure. Maybe not, Draven said, but I'm willing to find out. Without another word, he sprinted for the exit, the key clutched tightly in his grip. Behind him, alarms blared, and the facility began to shake as ancient defense systems activated. He had triggered something far more dangerous than he had anticipated. The Void Serpent was his only hope now. As he raced across the ruins, dodging collapsing debris and automated turrets, he couldn't help but wonder what the key truly was. A weapon, a tool, or something far greater. Whatever it was, Draven knew one thing for certain. The legacy of humanity wasn't over yet, and as long as he held the key, he would be the one to unlock it. To be continued. Draven sprinted through the collapsing ruins, the weight of the key of eternity clutched tightly in his hand. The once dormant outpost of Valerius had become a death trap, the ancient security systems roaring back to life, as if the key's removal had triggered something buried deep within its core. Alarms echoed in the distance, and the ground beneath his feet rumbled with a low, ominous vibration. Behind him, the armored stranger was in pursuit, undeterred by the chaos around them. Draven cursed under his breath. Whoever this was, they weren't giving up easily. He whipped through the crumbling corridors, his cybernetic eye scanning for an escape route. His ship, the Void Serpent, wasn't free if he could just make it out of the facility. He had a chance. But something about the key felt different now, heavier, as if it were awakening in his hand. The faint hum it emitted grew louder with every passing second. He risked a glance at the device. Its intricate patterns were shifting, glowing with a strange, pulsating energy. The artifact wasn't just a relic, it was alive, and it was reacting to him. Not now, he muttered, shoving the thought aside. I don't need more surprises. Suddenly, the floor gave way beneath him. Draven barely had time to react, leaping forward as the ground crumbled into a dark abyss. He landed hard, rolling onto his back as dust and debris filled the air. His blaster clattered beside him, and for a moment, the world spun in disorienting chaos. As he struggled to his feet, he heard the armored figure approaching, their footsteps deliberate and unyielding. The stranger emerged from the dust, their visor cracked but their determination unshaken. Give me the key, the figure demanded, their voice cold and resolute. You don't understand what you're holding. If you activate it, you destroy everything. Draven wiped the blood from his lip and snatched up his blaster. Funny, because I'm starting to think it's the only thing that can't stop whatever the hell is happening here. The stranger stepped closer, raising their hand as if in a gesture of peace. Listen to me, this isn't just about you or some treasure hunt. The key is the last remnant of humanity's greatest creation, and its power is dangerous in the wrong hands. I've spent years trying to stop people like you from finding it. Draven tilted his head, eyes narrowing. People like me. Ah, you mean the ones risking their lives for the truth, or the ones getting shot at for trying? The armored figure hesitated. For the first time, Draven saw uncertainty in their stance. I don't want to hurt you, Ro, but if you activate that key without understanding it, you trigger something far worse than you can imagine. Draven's heart pounded. The key's humming intensified, vibrating in his hand. He didn't know who to trust. Was the stranger right? Was he playing with fire? Was something inside him an instinct? Maybe told him that the truth was buried within the device, and he had to know. No deal, Draven said, tightening his grip on the key. I've come too far to back out now. Without warning, the key pulsed with blinding light. Draven shielded his eyes as a surge of energy erupted from the device, cascading outward like a wave of pure force. The armored figure stumbled back, momentarily disoriented. In that split second, Draven bolted. The facility's central power core was on the verge of meltdown. and he didn't have time to debate with his mysterious pursuer. He raced through the crumbling corridors, his path lit by the flickering light of the key, which seemed to guide him through the chaos. As he ran, he could feel the energy inside the artifact building, like a storm about to break. Just ahead, the jagged silhouette of the void serpent came into view, its landing ramp extended and ready for takeoff. Draven's heart leaped in his chest, was almost there. But the stranger wasn't far behind. As Draven sprinted toward his ship, the armored figure appeared once again, this time wielding a strange, shimmering weapon, a pulse blade designed to cut through nearly anything. Draven skidded to a stop, raising his blaster, but before he could fire, the figure slashed through his weapon with a single, precise strike. "You're not leaving with the key," the stranger growled, raising the pulse blade to Draven's throat. "I can't let you." Draven stood frowning for a moment, the hum of the blade inches from his skin. He was outmatched, outgunned, and yet he couldn't shake the feeling that something more was happening. He could feel the key in his hand, the energy swirling inside it, whispering to him, urging him to act. With a sudden burst of defiance, Draven raised the key. "Then let's find out what it does." He activated the device. The world around him exploded in a flash of white light. Time seemed to warp, bending and stretching as the key unleashed its full power. Draven felt himself being pulled through space, his body weightless as the fabric of reality itself unraveled before his eyes. He saw glimpses, flashes of things he couldn't comprehend, ancient battles, human fleets soaring through the stars, and a blinding light that consumed entire worlds. And then, just as quickly as it had begun, the vision ended. Draven stood in the same place, but everything was different. The ruins were silent, the alarms had stopped, and the armored stranger was nowhere to be seen. The key, now dim and lifeless, rested in his palm. He looked around, trying to make sense of what had just happened. The air was thick with an unnatural stillness, as if time itself had paused. And then, in the distance, a shadow emerged from the duddle. Humanoid, and unmistakably human. Draven's heart skipped a beat. He raised his blaster, even though he knew it wouldn't do him much good. The figures stepped closer, revealing themselves to be a man, clad in ancient, battle-worn armor. His eyes glowed with an eerie light, and his voice, when he spoke, was calm but commanding. "You've awakened the key," the man said, his voice echoing through the ruins. "And now, humanity's legacy begins again." Draven stared, unfounded. "Who the hell are you?" The man smiled faintly. "I'm the one you've been searching for. I'm the last of humanity's great protectors, and now, thanks to you, I've returned." Draven's mind raced, trying to process what he was hearing. What happens now? The man's gaze shifted to the key in Draven's hand. "Now, we rebuild, but first, we have to stop what's coming."